Greetings everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar jointly organised by Provial Asia and Shaw on new ways of broadcasting and the evolving use of broadcast technology. Today's webinar intends to answer who exactly a broadcaster is in the 21st century, as well as explore the latest audio capture techniques for broadcasting, whether at the big or small scale, the effect of the pandemic on local broadcasting, and the technology needed to take us into the future. As such, we would very much welcome your own feedback and best practices so that we may learn from one another. Before we commence, there are just a few items of housekeeping to discuss. Firstly, this webinar is being recorded and will be available for playback once it has been edited. At that point, we will share the link on our Provial Asia homepage for you to rewatch. Secondly, as the discussion progresses, please feel free to ask any questions by typing into the question pane. If you cannot see the question pane, there are one or two places you can find it, depending on how you are logged in today. If you are using the GoToWebinar web app, you should notice a question mark and a circle. Simply click on that. If you are using the actual application, GoToWebinar, look for the dark grey toolbar with the orange box and white arrow. Click on that orange box and you should be allowed to access the question pane there. Please submit your questions during the discussion, which we will hold on to until the end of the session. Throughout the webinar, please bear with us if we experience any audio or technical issues. We will endeavour to troubleshoot these as quickly as possible. It brings me great pleasure to introduce you to our panel of highly respected specialists. Joining us today is Suren Balakrishnan, a senior broadcast engineer for Malaysian broadcaster Astro. Having originally trained in an entirely unrelated field, Suren then made a conscious decision to instead pursue a career in a field he was passionate about, audio, and subsequently retrained in live sound and acoustics. Joining Astro as a trainee, his passion for the subject saw him quickly rise up the ranks within the broadcaster's audio department before taking on the challenging task of senior broadcast engineer. Most recently, Suren's role is heavily involved in creating new curriculums and modules for Astro's trainees and junior broadcast engineers. Good afternoon, Suren.
Good afternoon, Simon.
Also joining us today is Jeremiah Fu, a composer, author, musician, producer and educator who has been actively involved in the development of young talents in the creative industry since 1987. He was an A&R manager for Sony Music Entertainment in Malaysia and was responsible for developing the local music repertoire in the region. Currently, he is working with the industry to develop strategic alliances with Japan, China, Taiwan and Malaysia to bring young directors together and help them realise their potential. As a filmmaker, Jeremiah has recently set up eMuse Pictures in Malaysia to develop films for the international market. Good afternoon, Jeremiah.
Hello, good to be here.
And finally, Rishman Chu from Shaw in Singapore joins us this afternoon. As market development specialist for one of the most prominent microphone manufacturers globally, Rishman will be interjecting from time to time with relevant, useful technical tips and insights that we may be unaware of. Rishman brings many years of pro audio experience, having served as a solutions counsellor for many. Based in Singapore, he supports broadcast clients across the Southeast Asian region, ranging from small-scale podcasters and filmmakers to large-scale production houses. Hello, Rishman.
Hi, Simon. Hi, everyone.
So without further ado, let's jump straight into the discussion. Obviously, we will all be aware of the fact that the broadcast industry as a whole has changed and evolved a lot over recent years. Suren, from your perspective, why don't you tell us a little bit about who the broadcaster is has evolved and developed?
I can touch a little bit on what's happening in Malaysia. There's three big players in broadcast, namely Astro, the government controls TV station RTM, and the other one is TV3. We have evolved. Week in, week out, we do about 10 to 15 live shows in entertainment and also in sports. And now it is all changed actually because of the pandemic this year. We can't really do much because of this social distancing stuff and all this restriction by the government. And a lot of things we adapted along the way. It's like more on remote stuff. Skype, Zoom, these kind of things. People are all over the place, and we just get everyone in, and we just broadcast them from a different locations. So it has affected our business. It's in the long run, we trying to adapt to the new norm. We call it new norm here, and it's going on. It's just as we are just taking it as it goes, in different method means we really can't go outside and do a production, right? So we just sit at our base and we try to collect all these inputs from those artists, whoever involved. So from there we edit them and we do our podcast in that way now. So it's a new thing for us. We are also learning on that. So let's see how it goes. Maybe in 2021 we'll do it better if this whole thing's gonna prolong.
Astro is is a traditional live broadcaster, and you must be facing a lot of challenges in the market from different types of broadcasters emerging. We've got, YouTube Live, Netflix, all of these different streaming platforms now. What's the challenge for Astro in that respect?
When it comes to Netflix and these other YouTubers and stuff like that, we still have our in-house productions happening, which is catered to the local viewers. I mean, there's three main channels actually for Indian, Chinese, and Malay. So we cater for them locally. I mean, there's so many local stuff happening here and right there. So Netflix, in a way, affected us in the movies part and all those Hollywood movies and other foreign movies, but still locally we need content. I mean, to cater the local market. So Astro is still being the frontliner, I will say, in this, because we have our own tailor-made programs. Some of the programs like this singing talent shows looks the same, but we have catered it to our local viewers. And then that is entertainment. But sports-wise, I mean, in Malaysia, there are so many sports like this. Our traditional sports like sepak takraw and all those things. We still do the coverage. It's nowhere in Asia, Malaysia, Thailand, and Singapore. I think they watch this sport called sepak takraw. So that is where we are different from other broadcasters and other main players in the broadcast segment.
Jeremiah, you obviously kind of at the other end of the scale. You're very much not a traditional broadcaster in any sense. So if I asked you, what is a broadcaster today, what would your answer be?
I think the biggest difference between an authorized broadcaster and a V-media kind of broadcaster where you live cast out of Facebook and all that I wouldn't call it broadcast, but because you're only broadcasting to a group of friends who knows you. Anyone who doesn't know you, they are not getting your content. But broadcast in the general sense is whether you are using the web or you're using other wireless technology to send your content to. You don't really have to know who your audience. You don't have to know your audience. In that sense. So I think I have to share my experience from China. In China, they have gone through a process of technology convergence in the last 8 years, where they combine TV, telecommunication, and computer network into one big network of data. And using this trunk, they broadcast content. So, and I think the reason why they want to do this is because they want control. They want to be able to control the content that is being sent over to the audience, which is not very much being the case in our part of the world where our internet is pretty much free, right? So, when I talk about broadcast, I generally use the word very loosely to describe content that is being widely casted. Is that the word? Yeah. To a wide audience. I remember a long time ago there's a program called Pointcast where they actually tailor-made the content to you, one person, and they send it over to you. This is very much the same as what Netflix is doing, or even YouTube is doing when they customize everything and personalize everything to your personal preference and play back for you, right? And it's video on-demand kind of system. The traditional broadcasters are typically not, because they are live, they are streaming at all times. So you don't really have a choice, sit down and decide what you want to watch, when you want to watch it. So that's I think the main difference now. So for us, because we are we are mainly content producers. We produce and we write and produce new content, mainly for China. And because of the pandemic, we have to rethink our strategy. Because in the past, in China, the cinema is making more money than TV. But because cinemas are closed, and the audience has shifted from cinema back to home, and there's a rise in sales of large screen TV in China, 52% rise of big screen TV in China, which means there are now cinemas at home, and it's getting more and more prevalent. So, which means now it's more possible to produce high quality content for the home, which is basically what broadcast is about, right? So when you want to produce for the home, and people tend to watch longer content at home. If you go to a cinema, I think 3 hours is a little bit maximum. Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, Harry Potter, you sit there for 3.5 hours. I think that's quite tiring. But at home with popcorn, you can go to the toilet, whatever. It's easier for you to operate at home. So for content wise, we are no longer thinking 2 hour, 3 hour limit. We will probably look at 8 hour kind of long form, where we will produce mini series. So the way stories are written are also different, right? In the past, we talked about 3-act structure. Now, because it's so long form, the length of the duration of the story is so long, the way a story is being told and the way it's being produced is also different. And of course, it makes things even more complicated with the pandemic raging, right? So we can't meet. I think there's a limit in the number of the crew in a production team. And in China, what we do is now we are creating bubbles, right? The team goes into one place and they will not leave the place until it's done. So broadcast in that sense, because of the way and how the audience has shifted from cinema to home theater kind of experience, which is very broadcasty kind of delivery. We have to move our content development towards that direction too. I think for us, the resolution of the film is not so important because actually China is a big intranet, so for them internet speed is very, very fast. So I think for Malaysia, even when you want to do Zoom, I think sometimes we are quite laggy. So I think that's So I think infrastructure wise, if we want to really go all out with the network per se, then I think we will have to speed up our internet before we can happily talk about let's deliver everything on the web. That's a bit difficult. Yeah.
I mean that's where the traditional broadcasters still plays a role because they still go through the satellite and downlink, uplink stuff and all these things.
Yeah.
So when it comes to data, you really need to up your game actually. Those local providers, internet providers and all these things, they have to up their game because they know moving forward, this is what's going to be the new norm, right? Everyone is going to go online through the internet and all these things. No one's going to pay for the satellite. An hour of satellite is pretty huge sum. Yeah, people just satellite television is always expensive.
So particularly as Jeremiah just mentioned there, you've got industries such as filmmakers who they can't progress in the way that they traditionally would, and they're having to find other alternatives at the moment. I'm sure from Shaw's perspective as a manufacturer, you've been seeing seeing the clientele looking for broadcast technology changing quite dramatically, Richmond?
I think modern broadcaster has changed and evolved a lot, especially 2020, which events escalate their change. And I think all the people here are doing very well to adapt the situations in their very own way. So from what I observe, it's kind of like a gray area in our region. So broadcasters are no longer broadcasting only from their studio or TV stations. So in this time of around this time, so you tend to see more live streamers online, and people broadcasting from home or podcasting from home, or smaller scale of independent broadcaster are appearing on the network. So whether they are doing their own series, vlogger or gamer or even comedian, there's a lot flooded in the network right now. So I think the needs for the solutions for the modern broadcaster are much diverse than before. So for smaller independent broadcaster who live streams or recording from home, they will love the new Shure MV7 podcast microphones, which you can easy to set up, and even you didn't have the proper environments like soundproof environments, you can still record with a perfect quality. So some broadcaster want something portable on the go, like the MV88 Plus. So it comes with a phone mounting, so you can exactly just plug into your iPhones or to your laptop to do a live streams. So on the other hand, I think for the sport events or outdoor productions, they are totally looking for different thing. So the outdoor events or sport events productions, they are looking for the microphones that are portable, as well as they want to use it in a kind of like rugged way. So microphones need to be waterproof, sweat-proof, so they no need to worry about the weather. And the small detail is that they are actually looking for more accessories to suit the different needs and miking techniques on the outdoor. So I think, in the 2020 is kind of like a good year to me, I would say. So people are actually kind of like involved and becomes, adapt to these situations.
Can I add something? Because I always see microphone as a lens, as a camera. Because you are using a microphone to collect vibrations in the air, right? Similar to lenses. The problem of microphone is throughout all these years, it has not changed a lot. It is still a diaphragm. It is still electronics doing what diaphragms do, right? I think moving forward, microphone should be more intelligent, because if we are going to see more users who are not audio engineer trained, they will want something smarter, right? You plug it in, it will detect someone talking, and you automatically denoise, right? Take away whatever is around it. I think mobile phones are doing it pretty perfectly, but most microphones don't have that built in. I would love to see something that has that kind of function, so I can just plonk it to anybody and say, now you just record your voice, send me the audio file, and I'm pretty sure I can use the file.
The way of the microphones works are still remain the same. It's just that we need more DSP inbuilt to the microphones. So like what I'm using right now, the recent launch, the MV7s, which come with the auto gain control. So actually I just plug in my microphones via the USB, and it allow me to talk even without any tunings or any gain structure I need to worry about. So for user that without any audio knowledge, they can just straight away plug into their laptop and do the talking. So even for professional, if let's say they want to bypass the DSP, they can straight away use the XLR. No worries, it works simultaneously. So I think we are also working in that way to come out. The microphones come with the noise reductions, come with the auto gain control, probably some smart feature include with the microphones, something like the equalizations, limiter or compressor. So this microphone also come with the compressor.
I mean, this is a little bit of a tangent then from the evolving broadcaster, but yeah, the engineers evolved as well, hasn't it? At Astro, you must have presenters and other people who are just locked at home. They are narrators. They just need a microphone and have absolutely no technical knowledge in the slightest.
We did quite a research on that. So because we do all these weekly EPL shows in our studios, so since the pundits and the hosts can't come to the studio, so we just broadcast them from the house. So we need to provide them all the facilities so that they can do their live broadcasts on TV. So they want it to be very simple. They just want it to be plug and play and stuff like that. So it's quite a tough thing for us. So they got no idea what's happening at the back end of any broadcast. All they know, they just come and fix the mic, they talk, they sound, and they just go home after whatever they have done. But now they have learned something. I mean, they know how microphone works, what they need to do, what kind of levels they need to give, and in a way, it educated them actually. How's the struggle? I mean, how's the engineer struggle to get the right sound out?
Right, so let's move on a little slightly to sort of how your own roles have been affected with the pandemic and everything that's gone on. So again, I'll go back to you, Suren, because you're involved in live production particularly, which obviously has had major challenges at the moment. How have Astro been able to ensure that you can continue to do your work?
In Malaysia, there were 3 stages of this lockdown actually. There was MCO, then there was CMCO, then there was RMCO. There was a total lockdown, then there was a partial lockdown, there was a recovery lockdown actually. So in the total lockdown, we didn't do much things. It was just some new stuff going on in the studio, and there were only selected number of people can work. I mean, those who are in the studio, they can't go do outside broadcasts, and those who are doing outside broadcasts, they can't come back to the studio. At that point, we faced a little bit of difficulties because we work longer hours. I mean, you have to do a 12-hour shift. I mean, normally there's 8 hours, then you rotate with another engineer. But during the total lockdown, we had to work 12 hours in a day, and there were 3 or 4 live events happening in the studio. I mean, some of them happened almost in the same time. And then there were some talk shows happening, and that's where we really was not really prepared to do Skype calls, Zoom calls, and all these things. So we were lack of interfaces, and then we have to invest in interfaces, and we have to go to the artist's place and teach them how to use the interface and get it back to the base. And that are the situations we faced. Then when it came to this recovery lockdown, we started to open up for bigger scale live shows, but without audience. You see, we do a couple of comedy shows, comedy live shows. Without audience is a big challenge. I mean, there's no one to, cheer you up. You see, the artists, they will feel very blank. I mean, there's no interaction between the audience and artists. So we came up with fake claps. How do we feed the fake claps into the arena, and how you're on point? Whatever jokes they're telling, then you have to be like on point on how you're getting the claps out. So these are the challenges we faced. That's entertainment. When it's sports, even it's the same. I mean, sports won't be as exciting as how it used to be without audience. I mean, you see, if football, these kind of things, you need audience. So again, we need to come up with some sort of way to get fake audiences in, so that the sports, those who are playing the game, they feel a bit encouraged to do better. And then those interviews and all these things we have to use boom mics, basically. I mean, social distancing. Then these are the challenges we faced actually. We even tried remote production, like as how Jeremiah said. In Malaysia, the internet connection is still, I will say, it's average, above average. And then our fiber infrastructure is not in many places. I mean, you have certain links, but you don't have interlinks in between arenas and venues. So we did try doing remote production, but it didn't really work because the data speed was too low to carry all the video, audio, and all the other data information. So we just dropped it for now, and then we tried out a device called the Live View. Means it uses SIM card to transport audio, video, and data. So it's still in trial stages. I mean, I think we might feature it soon, but depends on how this pandemic gonna go. I mean, in the next year, because currently we have limited all our production. I mean, we are just doing 4 to 5 live shows in a week. Sports is totally out.
Presumably, to help with that problem, any technological solutions that sort of lower the data requirement or bandwidth or things like that they would be beneficial to your job and trying to achieve remote production.
Broadcast in general doesn't always have to involve video, right? So because there's also this big area in broadcast that is just audio, which is radio basically. So podcasting has become very big in the recent months. Almost every platform is providing a separate feed as a podcast channel, right? So audio is also plain audio, just nothing else but audio. It's also becoming very important.
Again, Shaw must have been getting a lot of calls when the pandemic started from people who are very quickly trying to work out what they can do, continue their work and other things. What were the obstacles that they were facing at the time to their existing production methods?
Yeah, so I think when this pandemic hit the world, people are trying to figure out how can we do things differently or correctly, to keep the business go on, especially for broadcast, I believe. So we have seen a lot of customer inquiries regarding of proper hygiene and cleaning of microphones. So in response, Shure has developed some tips on this in our website to address these questions. So we understand the pain point, especially for broadcast stations. So we kind of like want to figure out how to be more collaborative, and something like even you have less manpower because of the restrictions. So you have the limited manpowers on the set. So you kind of want to monitor. The audio engineer have to monitor the RF and also you do the mixing, and not only the mixing, so maybe they need to do the live broadcast mixing and also the live recording. So there's totally different kind of way to do it. So for us, we sure develop our solutions to meet a larger productions which require less manpower resources. So for example, the wireless Walkman 6 and our system on software allow you to the user to remote monitoring as long as all systems are interconnected via the building infrastructures. So another very good example is our market leading XN Digital microphones advanced. So it will take care of the wide array of radio frequency. So it detects the RF interference by its own and also avoid by its own. So user does not require any extensive monitoring. So on the other hand, just now I kind of agree with Jeremiah that you mentioned the music collaborations. Everyone are pre-recorded in their own house and send it to the producer or the audio engineer to do the mixing part. So you kind of want to educate the singer or the musicians at home what kind of source that you expected or the quality you expect. So this is why in this period of time we came out with the MV7, which also inspired by the SM7B. So it's actually allowed you to bring in the studio quality at home recording. So even you doesn't have a perfectly tuned or soundproof room, you are still able to record the audio quality in a good audio quality.
So let's move on slightly to actual physical audio capture. Again, between our two different engineers here, very different techniques to the way that they go about capturing sound, I imagine. From a live production point of view, Suren, I know Astro has been exploring 5.1 and Atmos mixes and some of the more advanced broadcast microphone techniques. Just take me through a little bit about what you're doing in that regard.
I won't say it as a challenge. I always say it as an experiment. I mean, we always experiment with different microphone and different techniques on how to capture stuff and all these things. And entertainment is quite pretty much straightforward. You see, I mean, you have these bands playing and you have your audiences and you just capture them and it's done. I mean, clappings and stuff is just the traditional way of doing it. But when it comes to sports, you can explore a lot of things. like how as I mentioned just now, we have this local sepak takraw league, which three versus three, the small ball will be kicking across the court and all that. What we did last year, I mean, beginning of this year, we try to mix it in 5-1. I mean, we try to mix a sports production in 5.1. We managed to capture a good flow of this game. I mean, the court sound, the screaming, and the ball sound when it get kicked, all the things. So it was quite a good experience for us. I mean, it's something that we never really tried, to place a mic on top of the middle of the court, and we try to send those information to our rear speakers and front, and we try to simulate the movement of those sound.
Jeremiah, your type of audio production is probably very different. I imagine the considerations for you at the moment are things such as self-miking, social distancing, and other things, because it's more close up. So, yeah, talk me through some of the challenges that you've experienced.
I think the biggest difference in workflow now is all of us have our own studio at home. In the past, we go back to the office where there's a proper studio. We record everything there. Right now, we need to have an isolation booth at home to record our own stuff, so that we can send stuff over. And because of the pandemic, we haven't been producing, as in on location production. Right now, most of the stuff that we do are pretty much on our own, and we have been experimenting with the possibility of doing drama without having everybody in the same room, which means we will have similar setup in terms of the set in every location, where the cast will perform in their own location using the same camera angle, lens, whatnot, and we cut them together as if they are in the same room. We have been experimenting with that production methodology for almost a month already, and happy to say the effect is almost seamless. It's like fake one shot, where everything is, when I cut to character A, is actually in one location. When I cut back to character B, that character B is in another location, but with a setup that looks exactly the same as the location A. So by doing that, we are able to do drama. But the problem is still communicating between the actors and the talents, how the line of sight and all that, how do you deliver the dialogue and all that, to put them together so that they look natural.
So it's been very informative so far. We've talked a lot about challenges this year with the pandemic. As we move into 2021, we'll be hoping that a lot of these challenges disappear all by themselves, although time will tell, remains to be seen yet. But what are you expecting will be the main challenges for you next year, and what kinds of audio technology could help you do your job better? Let's start with you, Jeremiah.
I would love to see something that can automatically standardize signal. For example, I mean, if I were to be, I've been to too many cinemas where the operator changes their own level, which means the audio level that the engineer wants the audience to hear is not being played back at the cinema. So and standards is a problem. Even if you watch YouTube or some TV broadcast now, audio levels are different from content program to program, because everybody records in a different with their own standards. So if there's a way for this to happen, I think that's, then at least we don't have to worry about one program becoming too loud or something. I think that's one way, one direction towards, I think sound companies should all come together and let's standardize everything. It's very hard now. Even in visual, right? You have all kinds of color standards, all kinds of brightness, black, black level and all that. Everybody is different. So if I were to produce something and of course, if the vaccine situation becomes better, then we can all travel. If we can cut down the amount of time of travel, where we can just instruct the producer, the other side, and say, look, record this for me, and they can give me something I want, then it will be perfect. So, but I think to reduce human error, a technology that makes this happen would be very good.
Suren, your market's a little bit more regulated in terms of the standards things that Jeremiah said, but nevertheless, what would you like to see coming in 2021, let's say from a technology point of view, that can help you do your job better?
In a way, this pandemic has taught us a lot of things. I mean, it has taught us that we can work remotely from anywhere from anywhere in the world. I mean, as long as you have the right thing to work, get things done, then you can just do your stuff and all that. So I think this will be carried forward even to next year. I mean, those people who say, okay, we done it last year. I mean, during the pandemic, we can do it from our home. Why can't we do it now? So these kind of things will definitely come for us. I mean, those big time artists, celebrities, they don't want to come to the studio. I'll do it at home. I'll record it and send it over to you. This is where, people like Shure can come up with something and can target the consumer market, so that those not so professionals, those who are involved in TV production and all these things, so they can get something for them. See that you can do this at home. You just send over your stuff, whatever you need to send. They know what to do with it. So I still, I don't see much of a change in the bigger scale in a broadcast. I think it's going to be better actually. People will be more disciplined. I mean, now when you're hooking up a mic, the social distancing, you have to clean the mic, you need to sanitize the mic. And then I just want to touch a little bit on my perspective, because I told you, I'm training new people, new students and all these things. So I think they're not going to come. There'll be no, direct interaction with them. It's not going to be all online stuff and all that. So that's going to be a challenge for us, because audio, you need some practical stuff happening. You can't put it all on theory. So that's going to be a challenge. So how are we going to create a module to make them understand what is audio all about without, a little bit of practical and more on theory. So that's the challenge I'm looking forward in 2021. So let's see what Shure can come out with this and tell us, okay, you guys can do it this way, you can do it that way. How they can help us.
Yeah, actually, that's an important point, because I teach audio engineering too at a university. So, and when you tell the student, look, this is a condenser mic and this is a dynamic mic, can you hear the difference? None of them can hear the difference.
No, yeah.
So how do you standardize the listening? I mean, you make sure every student have the same headphone. I think that's one way. And then then you have to make sure that the audio that you transmit over to the other side, they have the same decoder. That's so if Shure can come up with a package, plugs in, and then monitoring, recording, everything is in one box. Perfect. I think every school will have to buy one for their students.
Interface mic comes in a package.
Yeah.
So this is standardized practice.
Actually, we also have a similar kind of solutions, especially for student like what you both mentioned just now. So if student want to have some simple setup at home, so they require microphones, probably an audio interface with the headphones. So we do have the options for them. So for example, if let's say they don't want to be so complicated with the audio interface, they are just entry level. So probably they can think about the Motif series. So which is the MV7, what I'm using right now. So it gives you all the feature that with the X2U. So you have the gain control over here. You have the monitoring level. You can change on the touchscreen over here. So I think this is something that you guys are talking about or looking for. So for students, they just plug into the laptop. Their DAW will automatically detect the interface. So it will detect these microphones as an audio interface. So then then everyone can have a same solutions at home.
To finish off the conversation briefly, Richmond, you might just have answered this in your previous answer, but like what's Sure's focus now then for the next year? Has it shifted a lot because of the events of 2020?
I wouldn't say we shifted a lot. Maybe we are improving and also learning from the end user experience. So every great products in the market involve marrying the end user experience and also the technology that is available. So for sure, we believe that product is at its best when user use it correctly and optimally to achieve the best result possible. So this is why we have our Sure Audio Institute, so-called the SAI, has developed a wide range of courses for sound engineer, for students, for broadcast stations and rental houses. So for example, if they really want to know or interest to know what is the difference of condenser and dynamic microphones, Sure Audio Institute actually have the courses for the basic knowledge to the advanced knowledge. So and every single course, once you finish, you will get the certifications officially from Sure. So we also involve our key customer in the product beta testing, alpha testing, to get their kind of feedback to refine our product, especially those minor details before they are officially launched in the market. So we believe ongoing market engagement is the key to developing the right products at the right time for the markets. So one very good example that I like to share about is the Twinplex and also the XN Digital Solutions. This was the result of the market demands for broadcast and music productions. So for sure, on the 2021, we will get improved.
Yeah, what about audio over IP?
Yes, audio over IP, I think is been talking for quite a long time in the markets, especially right now, Dante devices are being adopted, right? So we do have all our digital solutions are actually used with Dante enable. So if let's say for audio engineer, especially, I think all of us over here, we got less knowledge on the IT part, especially when it comes to how to configure subnets mask, how to configure the IP address, So the SAI actually offer the basics IT knowledge for us as an audio engineer to get to know what's their words or what they are requiring for, So we kind of married AV and IT together.
I think between the four of us, we could go on talking about this topic probably all day.
Yes,
all day.
So.
Yeah. So you've heard from our panelists, but now we'd like to hear from you too. Let's turn to some of our questions from viewers. So briefly, this is touching on the point I think that Jeremiah spoke about just now in terms of creating sort of similar setups at different locations in order to ensure that your productions were the end result was consistent. But how do you do that when you can't ensure similar setups? I guess, for instance, let's talk about presenters who are at home and just have a mic and things like this, and you can't control their environment. What techniques at that point can you employ to try and ensure that you stay consistent?
Green screen.
And from an audio perspective?
The difficult part is getting the levels, similar levels and EQs and make everything sound consistent. That is actually difficult.
Do you have any tips or techniques in that sense, or ways? For instance, what ways could that situation be improved? I could imagine maybe certain regulation or industry-wide standards that people really start to adopt. They could be beneficial to you setting these things up more consistently.
I think probably Suren can.
let's put that question to Suren.
Yeah, because it's more a TV thing, but because for live thing, right? For production, because we have the luxury of post-production, which means we can fix some problems or some inconsistencies in the post. I won't. Yeah, but I will never ever promote the idea of fixing things in post, but only when we have no choice. That's why we try to have similar setup. For example, if we want somebody to have a certain kind of sound, just send them the equipment, use this, and try to make it as dummy proof as possible, so that when they set it up, it will sound okay. But fortunately, in our part of the world, for Malaysia, we can actually get people to go to their place, the location, to help set up once and forget. That's one way to do it. In China, basically, most part of China is open for production already. The SOP is still quite strict, but people can move around now. So you can actually seek help. We can send technicians to the location, fix the thing, and hope they don't touch anything until the production is over. Yeah, that's. I think for now it's still logistics. I think the main problem is still logistics. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't really commute here and there, right? I mean, you just have to work remotely from a location.
This probably brings us nicely into our next question from our panelist, actually. It's about 5G and the impact of 5G on the way you might broadcast. So when you talked about remote production being a struggle for you, so presumably 5G is one possible solution on the horizon.
Yep, yeah. But 5G still haven't taken the full-fledged in Malaysia. I think it's still the stage is still in the testing period. Not all service providers have taken 5G. I won't say seriously, but I think it's still in the pipeline. It will take at least another year or two for them to really establish in the 5G spectrum. There are certain places they are still testing out, but it's not as a whole. I mean, I think still haven't come to the consumer. End users still haven't experienced the speed of 5G. It's in this region. I'm not sure about Singapore. Singapore is there. I mean, have they started 5G, or they are still going on 4G? So how is it in Singapore?
As far as I know, right now we are still on the same stage. So for the consumer, we still doesn't have the 5G. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is this something that a broadcaster like Astro is starting to explore and look into, though, and find ways that they could adopt these technologies?
There are things they are working on these things still, and of course, again, as I said, if the service providers are not ready, as the users, even though we have the infrastructure ready, we can't use the technology yet, right? I mean, it's a process. It should have taken place by end of this year, as far as I've read a few places, but it's still.
But I think it's also the cost involved.
Correct.
How much will it cost for end users to adopt the technology? I think in the very beginning, if we remember, after we have moved from dial-up to ADSL connectivity, the cost is exorbitant, right? But after that, when it becomes cheaper, the speed is it's iffy. They keep telling you it's 2 megabit, but it's actually not. And then
same like the fiber.
I would suspect the first stage of 5G rollout, we will have that kind of inconsistency in terms of throughput, the amount of data, and of course data versus cost effectiveness. I think that will be one bottleneck. But once rollout is done, when the number of subscriber hits a certain volume, the cost will come down. When the cost comes down, I think that's when services will become better. But that's the pain we have to. That's the pain we have to go through. Because I experienced the same thing in China, where they roll out 4G. They basically leapfrog all the analog stuff. They went straight to digital. Because we had analog wireless, then later we moved to digital wireless. So we had that transitional period.
Yes.
Yeah, yes. But China just went straight to digital. So now I think some parts of China, they are also testing 5G, but their intent on using 5G has different implications, which I think is beyond our scope of discussion here. But I think in general, what we will benefit from 5G is the throughput. But when can we get that throughput will be something we will have to just wait and see, because right now we really don't know, right? So
just to add on what Jeremiah said, something like the digital dividend, I think Richmond have more to say on that, right? I mean, this region, the digital dividend just came as fast as it came, and it just went off just like that. So not many people realize what is digital dividend, why this particular bandwidth was restricted, why you need to change to a higher bandwidth. And not many people
That's
knows
correct.
about this. Yeah, it's just
Mm.
there's a rule. There's a ruling came out. There's a digital dividend. You can't use certain spectrum, so you have to sell or you have to dispose all your old stuff, and you have to go to the digital thing. Not many people are aware of it. There's no proper guideline of why this thing came in the first place. We are aware. I mean, we are in the industry, so we know why this thing happens. But the end users, the normal people, which the laymen's, I mean, they don't really know what is digital dividend. How, why, how. It's always been in their head.
Yeah, definitely. That's very interesting. We've had another question come in for you, Suren, about Astro. We touched on this briefly, but I'll put the question to you. Due to the pandemic, have Malaysian broadcasters like Astro started to do remote production for sports or other live events? If yes, how's the outcome? And if not, do you look forward to doing so?
Okay, we never really go into remote production yet. I mean, our transmission is in remote, but all the physical things still happening from the venue. We really haven't taken that approach to do a remote production, totally a remote production where the crew sits at the base and those cameras, those audio stuff in the venue. We never really haven't gone to the approach. I think in the future we might do that. As I said, we need to look into like those connection, data, fiber facilities, all these infrastructures. If they are ready and if they are fast enough to cater to a broadcast production. I mean, video, I mean, proper HD videos takes a lot of bandwidth. So to cover that bandwidth, you really need high speed stuff happening. You can't really rely on the current ones, but I think we will be there soon. So far, we are transmitting remotely. I mean, we are using data to transmit those videos from a venue. But to do a full scale production, I think it will take some time.
Are you stuck in waiting for the network and the throughput to be better, or have you learnt lots throughout the 2020 so far and made inroads into ways you can go about achieving remote production?
As we have discussed this actually earlier, I mean, the remote, no one, I mean, many of them didn't know how to do remote production. Like in 2019, no one even spoken about remote production. To do a live remote production, do a band remote production, do a talk show in remote production. But now it is happening. I mean, everyone into that approach, everyone creating a virtual studio and everyone just basically doing it from their home or from a venue. So remote production is there. I mean, it's already part of our industry now. So we have to work things out, and we should prepare ourselves in the next few months. We don't know if the pandemic continues. I think remote production is the way, and if it's getting worse, remote production definitely is the way. So
It's the only way.
it's the only way. Yeah, but I really like the trend actually. If you open your Facebook or YouTube on a weekend, you can see like there's so many people doing remote stuff. There's so many live bands happening. So many talk shows happening on YouTube, Facebook. So in a way, people have learned how to do remote production, but there's still some stuff lagging here and there in terms of audio. I mean, okay, in terms of audio and loudness comes to a place. I mean, people don't really know what's loudness. What is your nominal level you should mix so that your sound, you get the right sound on air. So all that thing we will want to educate if they seek us. So let's see.
There's new knowledge to learn in that sphere, isn't it? Things like loudness is very different on a traditional broadcast than it is for a streaming platform, and not sure everybody knows things like that. So that takes us to our next question. So what have we got here? This is a question about Dante equipment. And with most pro audio equipment now Dante enabled, how can I learn more about using these types of devices? Maybe I'll put that one to Ishman, maybe from a manufacturer's perspective. How can you help people learn more about these new ways of working?
So I think Dante is pretty famous right now. Everyone is using, or every manufacturers are working closely with Dante. So I think one of the way is actually Sure Audio Institute actually provide the courses to help people understand about Dante, and also for us as a audio engineer, usually we doesn't know what's the IT one or what's the IP address and subnet mask. So we do have a basic and advanced networking knowledge sharing on our platform. And also, if you are interested in Dante, so you actually can sign up the course with Audinet. So they have actually provide the Dantes from basic to advanced. I think there's a three different level. You can learn from there. Yep.
Yeah, I mean,
Brilliant.
touching a bit on Dante, actually, I think Dante is the future, if you ask me, because everything is Dante. I mean, everything is network. Audio is audio from the analog world. When it moves to digital, everything is become network. It becomes IP based and stuff like that. So Dante will be definitely an added thing for the audio engineers to learn. So a lot of people, they don't really know how it works. But there's so many there's so many education stuff online. You can learn Dante. Even Audinet gives a lot of free courses, free
Yes.
exams, free tutorials, and all these things. So I think they should. It's about time for them to adapt to Dante. Let's see how it goes.
The easiest way is just buy it and give it a
Play
try.
with it. Yes,
Yeah, just
exactly.
play with it. Yeah.
So most of our product actually is Dante enabled. So if you're interested.
This takes us on nicely into our next question now, which is slightly linked, which says, during the pandemic, I realised that current sound engineers need to know networking and coding, especially in delivering high-end content over VoIP especially. Will this be the future, where engineers need basic fundamentals of programming and networking? So I guess that ties in similarly to our previous question. Jeremiah, on the production side.
Most modern schools are teaching that for people who are in the engineering courses. We are already teaching that. So you go to if of course you studied sound engineering 10 years ago, that wouldn't be an issue for you. But I think 10 years ago we were learning MIDI. MIDI was one of the things that we need to learn, even for lighting, right? So right now, IP, networking, and tech related stuff are part of the curriculum. So you have to learn that you cannot run away. So for people who have missed this train, actually, older people like me, actually, going to the web there are many resources where you can learn. As Richmond has mentioned just now, actually, if you go to Sure, the website, you should be able to find links where you can find resources to learn, or you can go to YouTube and just type, look for anyone that is respectable or reputable. Don't just, because all kinds of information is available on YouTube, and some are real and some are not. I think besides equipment, one other problem with a lot of personal remote studio is the acoustic in the room. You need, if a bus passes by, or some people with very loud motorbikes pass by, you get that kind of noise. So how are you going to isolate that kind of noise? And then what if you have very dirty power line? How are you going to clean that sound up? I think those are, and I have got a lot of friends who shoot beautiful video with very, very bad sound. And then they come back, they come to me and ask me, how do I clean up this? And I ask them, so what mic did you use? Yeah, and then they show me a mic that I don't even recognize the brand. And then and I have to show him some software where he can, but that's fixing in post. That's something we do not recommend, right? So and most of the time when I recommend, I just say, I'll just tell them, buy a good mic, get a proper mic amplifier. Just it's a one-time pain. Get it done properly, and with the right noise gate, a proper compressor, and all that, then everything will be properly done. Then nobody will complain about your sound. I've got many people, especially home-based remote producers who are producing for Astro. I've got a friend producing for Astro at home, and he brought his mic to my place, and then he asked me, why is that? There's a consistent noise in his recording. But when he brought over to my place, we tested everything. There was no noise. So in the end, we isolated the problem. Problem came from his power. He needs proper power isolation. But there are many, I think, issues surrounding quality of a product, right? Whether it's picture, video. If sometimes the video looks very good on your screen, but it looks horrible when you stream it out. So how does it work? Is it because of your encoder? What is the wrapper? What is the frame rate you are encoding with, and how much compression are you applying to the content? I think all these are very basic knowledge for a modern broadcaster or a person who do webcasting. These are all very, very basic knowledge. I know there's another brand called Blackmagic. Blackmagic comes up with devices where you can just plug and play. But even that, you get audio sync problem where the video and the lip sync doesn't sync. Yeah, because of the delay, right, in the audio. So and how do we solve those problems? Of course, as audio engineer who came from the analog time, we will know, oh, clap your hand, then you do your magic and then make it match, right? But a lot of people just want a one-button solution. I click this button, everything is solved. There is no such one-button solution, unfortunately.
We've nearly run out of time for our webinar session today, so I'll put one more question to our panelists. Again, it's roughly loosely associated with the last answer from Jeremiah, but it says, as AV professionals, we've been striving to educate end users and clients on the correct methods for system deployment and AV quality, etc. I feel that the pandemic has forced the industry to move backwards. Quality of audio and video has gone to an acceptable level based on the application, rather than the best that the technology can offer. And I'd like to hear the panel's thoughts. Let's go back to Suren again. You're obviously, you have very specific, I presume, guidelines about the type of quality of production that you must put out. So presumably you feel that you are still meeting those requirements throughout and that your production quality hasn't suffered.
We have this department called QA, it's Quality Assurance Department. Yeah, I mean, let's say we are doing a live show, right? We are transmitting a live show. They'll be constantly checking on the audio level, on the video and stuff like that. Then they'll be reminding our on-site technical managers on what's happening, how's your broadcast like. I mean, if there's anything, sometimes they'll tell us on loudness. I mean, if they say if it's too loud or if it's too high, the incoming feed is too high, or if the incoming feed is too low, they'll keep reminding us constantly so that we will know where we are. I mean, that's how we check on our quality from time to time. And prior to a live show, 1 hour or 2 hours before, we will have a line check back to the base. I mean, we will uplink all those feed from the location. Then we will check everything from the graphic, from the video, from the audio quality. If it's transmitted on 5.1, what are you getting on all those channels? What kind of a loudness level you're getting on all those channels? So I mean, I think as a traditional broadcaster, we always make sure our quality is the right one, reaching the viewers at home. We can't compromise on the quality, because a single glitch will only a second glitch will only look like a second glitch, but it's a big thing for us. I mean, we have to investigate why this glitch happened, what happened behind the scene, what we can do so that it don't happen in the next live broadcast or whatever. So we have these kind of guidelines. We have some checklists. We always follow those checklists. We will not miss out. We keep up to our standards in this way. So that's how we maintain our quality throughout.
Jeremiah, you obviously also want to still maintain great quality in your productions, but do you feel that standards have slipped over the last year?
I think the standards does not slip from the producer's point of view, but the standards slip on the client point of view. For example, we used to produce audio in 44.1 kilohertz, then we moved to 48. Then from there, we moved to 96 and 192, and so on. But the industry adopted MP3, right? 10:1 compression. Suddenly, our audience is not hearing the quality we are hearing.
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
as far as I'm concerned, I think this is good because they won't be able to find our flaws because they're hearing tenth of what we are hearing, right?
Yeah.
But MP3 has also evolved. It has become better.
Yeah.
So for us, it's like a better of we move forward a bit. The industry, the client will move forward a bit. As we move to 4K, right? YouTube is streaming in 4K. But
Okay.
the moment we do live stream, we fall back to 720p.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Most
Correct.
video streams are 720p. And
Yes,
people,
correct.
so the quality has always been, we move forward due to some technological advancement, the quality will drop. But the quality will slowly, what's that word? Match the production quality. And then there will be a leap forward in production. We will move to 8K maybe. And then, so as we leap forward, the market will follow. So I think this is natural, and but the pandemic has made this a bigger issue because more people are all of a sudden they have to start broadcasting from home. They have to start doing video streaming. Then all of a sudden we have this new platform called Facebook's Live, and then all these things are it gives you the impression that all of a sudden our quality has dropped. But on the production side, Suren has perfectly pictured, how quality control is done on the from the broadcaster's position, where we always make sure whatever we do is of the highest quality. But it's typically the other side. You don't have a properly color corrected TV. You don't have a properly calibrated speakers. All this will affect our playback quality. So I wouldn't say it's not our fault, because we need to sometimes also think about what our end user will be using to listen to our content or watch our content with. But I think it's a part and parcel of things. Do we have to take care of the lowest common denominator, or we always produce for the best?
Correct.
Yeah. So middle is maybe the way to go. So that's
Sorry,
something we have to keep thinking all the time.
Yeah.
And that's being a professional, I think. Yeah.
But our target audience is always changing. I mean, you see from
true.
home theater 5.1, 7.1, 7.2. Now it became a soundbar, just a single line stuff, and there's few drivers inside there, and it can do and it can do. Some mobile phone is Atmos ready, so people don't really know what is Atmos ready. How come a mobile phone can do Atmos? So they should be educated in a way. What is Atmos? What is immersive sound? As Jeremiah said, what is TV color correction? What is your lineup levels? What kind of content you're going to create for your target audience and stuff like that. I think it's an ongoing thing. It will go on. People will get educated along the way. We as the people from the industry, we try to create things so that we will not be left out actually.
Richmond, do you share Jeremiah and Suren's opinions on that matter?
So I think is all along audio quality and video quality is being taken granted. As an end user, we just open up and streams, and we don't know about what's being done from the audio engineer or the specialist. So until this pandemic start, people doing live stream, broadcast, or even meetings at home, then they started to found out, hey, how come my audio sounds so bad at the far end? Or why is it my microphone is not working well because I'm picking up a lot of background noise and stuff. So people start learning and starting to know what is dynamic microphones, what is condenser microphones. Went on to the Google and search, or what's the difference. So what kind of equipment I should invest in. Even maybe after the pandemic, even my fathers or my moms can teach me what type of camera is better for live streaming. Right? Everyone is learning from Google, and they trying to get their best out. So I won't consider as a moving backwards. For us, it is a good thing. So now end user or everyone's in the market, or they are starting to learn new thing and know about the audio quality is important, or video quality is important, and what type of codec they are using, or the compressions. So I think it's a good thing. People are getting know about this and learn themselves. Sometimes they will come back to you, so now I know the audio engineer pen. So I won't ask so much next time, you know.
Actually, I have personally I work with a lot of worshipers actually from a few churches in around KL, and because they can't do worship in their venue, so they have to like do a live stream of their service and all those things. So when they first started, they have no idea how it is to be done, and they just put an iPhone, they just recorded everything on the iPhone and say it sound audible, and people are complaining they can't hear and this and that. So we went down and we tell them what should need to be done with very cost-effective things and all that. So we managed to get a decent output. It's not the best, but we managed to get a decent output. So they're happy, and they are trying to, how to say, improve themselves. They want to invest in things, and they want to invest in proper streaming stuff and all that, because moving forward, this might be the new norm for place of worship. They can do services from their venue and people just watch it in their Facebook or Instagram or YouTube page and all that. So in a way, the whole spectrum actually it's moving. It's moving to betterment actually. People like us, we can play a good part in this situation. I mean, we can educate them. At the same time, we will have the pleasure that we did something to the industry.
That's it. Yeah. We'll all be better off for it, yeah. So I was going to end. We had one very quick question just come in here. Maybe this is a good one for Jeremiah. How can a music teacher or instructor make their tutorials online better? Because doing it online reduces most frequencies from an instrument. Is there a way to eliminate the issue? Interesting question.
What we normally do is we instruct. Our instruction will be done normally, right? But all file examples, whatever song, music, frequencies, whatever examples you want to show, you put it in the repository so people can download. So they will be downloading the full resolution file, and they can listen to it at home. Now, for us, we make sure our students get the proper headphones, because we will not be recommending speakers, right? Because they will be making noise at home. So we recommend a proper pair of speakers, hopefully something not in ear, right? Something that covers your ear. And with that, and the microphone, we try to standardize. You know, everybody use the same microphone. So at least when you record and you send the stuff to me, then at least I know I am listening. You are doing it right or wrong. I mean that. So for instructions is pretty straightforward for sound. The difficult thing, I think, for me, okay, in our case, because we teach Logic Pro, we teach Pro Tools, and we also teach some video editing packages like Final Cut Pro and DaVinci. So if you want to teach this, the most difficult part is how are you going to show them a certain tweaking in a certain parameter of a certain plugin will give you a certain kind of effect. Most people can't hear the difference because it's online. So we will have to prepare all the packages as a separate file download. So as you instruct, you tell them, okay, please download example A, listen to example A. This is what is being done. So I know it becomes a little bit more tedious, but that's the only way now to properly do it, because we face a problem in duration of instruction. Because in class you can look at the person and the students give you responses and all that. So the material you prepare don't have to be so long. But now you're only talking to yourself. You're actually talking to yourself because the students will not respond to you immediately. Yeah. So that means the material you prepare has to be slightly more, which means initially it's a 16-hour program, and you probably have to produce maybe 20-hour program to fit into 16 hours because the pace is a lot faster. and your student can play back and stop. So when they play back and stop and pause and replay your content, which means your content has to be so properly produced that it can survive a scrutiny of keep playing back. That's a problem, because you do live, you make a mistake and it disappears, right? But if it's recorded and you make a mistake or you say something wrongly, that's one other problem. So I think for instructors online, I think we will have to bear the burden of learning how to do video editing. I think that's something you have to learn. I think that's we cannot run. And then of course, and if you want to teach color correction, we don't even know the screen is color it's properly graded.
Yes.
So how are you going to teach
monitors?
that? So there are some things that we cannot really teach, but we have to make do. So right now we are exploring the possibility of online and offline kind of environment to do instructions. We are setting up a school in KL. So it's something we're thinking
That's nice.
about.
Well, that's brilliant. I think we've definitely exhausted the time we have available for today. I've really enjoyed discussing this topic with all three of you, and I thank you very much for spending the time with us today.
Terima kasih.
Thank you. Terima kasih, Jeremiah. Thank you, Richmond.